Hi everyone, this is Joe with Texas Towel. Sitting here in my Revel, and I'm just thinking about one of the reasons why we bought this Revel. One of the big deciding factors when we bought this was I wanted my wife to be able to take this out on her own, and go travel if she needed to, and maybe go camp a night or two on her own. So we did a whole video series a while ago about showing her how to do the outside, right? And she's got all the hookups set up. But one of the things that I got to thinking about and wondering about is, does she really know how to handle the diesel, right? Because the Revel. If you're not familiar with the Revel, right, it's a Sprinter based on a Mercedes-Benz Blue Tech diesel engine, and diesel is a little bit different than regular gasoline when it comes to fuel for the automobile. So there's some considerations you have to think about with the vehicle. Where to find the gas, how to pump the gas. Are you putting the right? I shouldn't say gas. It's not gas. It's fuel, right? How to pump the fuel. Are you putting the right fuel in the Revel? Are you doing it at the right time? So all kinds of things you have to consider. And typically, when we go places, it's either me driving or if Amy's driving and we stop somewhere, I'm the one who gets out and goes and handles the fuel. There's been a couple times where we've stopped to get the fuel. I've been on the phone and she's had to do it herself, and it's been quite an undertaking. So I know she watches the channel, so I want to make this video and go ahead and show her some things about what to think about when you're trying to find diesel fuel on the road, and how to fuel up properly, and just how to check your gas mileage and everything while you're driving the van. So, if you give me just a second, I'm going to flip the camera around, and we're going to talk about some things on the, in the front, the chassis end of the Mercedes, about how to tell if, you need gas. And then we'll talk about how to find the gas stations, and then actually how to pump it and make sure you're getting the right pump and everything. So give me a second, flip around, and I'll be right back with you. So first off, I got to add a little disclaimer to this video. This video is really around our Revel, which is a 2021 Revel on a 2020 Mercedes-Benz chassis. So some of the features and the gizmos and some of the buttons you have to push to get to the certain features may be different depending on how they lined up the Mercedes and what they were doing at the time your Mercedes was made. So let's talk about the first thing about where's the fuel gauge, right? Because this gets kind of confusing. So the fuel gauge is actually over here on the left of the vehicle. It's underneath the speedometer. So you'll see it's got the little fuel pump symbol with the arrow pointing to where the gas is, and then you got all these little numbers down here. It goes from 1 to half to 0. It's a German thing, right? Usually American cars go full and empty, so they got a 1 is full, obviously 0 is empty. And you notice there's little dots in there that they light up when to let you know what level your gas is. There's 24 gallons in the tank, and there's 12 little dots. So each dot represents 2 gallons of gas that goes down. Okay, so when it starts getting below half, and then you get to around 4 or 3 little dots, that's where I start looking for gas. When you get to the 2 dots, the 2 little dashes full, that's usually, I've noticed, it's happened to me a couple times where I'd go that low, and I've noticed that's when the add fuel and the low fuel warning light comes on. So they give you that little nudge to start looking. So typically I like to start looking for gas, right after it gets past a half, and it gets maybe, down to where it's got 4 blips left, and like right now we're 3 blips, and I really have to go get gas, but there's one really close to the house, so we'll get that later. This piece in the middle here, you'll see that I have this turned on where I do have a fluid indicator here in the middle. That fluid indicator is really for the DEF, and DEF stands for diesel emission fluid. That's a totally separate thing, and we will talk about that in another video, but right now I just want to focus on the fuel. So another thing I want to show is, so let's say you're driving down the road, and I have a half a tank, or I'm right here with a third of a tank left, right? How do I figure out how much gas, well, not how much gas, how much fuel, not only how much fuel do I have, but how far can I drive before I have to get to a fuel station? So that's usually the thing, right? So let's say, I'm at four blips down, and I'm 50 miles from the house. Can I go 50 miles on a gas tank? So it's really easy to figure out, because the Revel will tell you, right? The Mercedes will tell you. So if you come here to the Mercedes and you click on the home button, right? It's this little home area. You click here, you click it once, or maybe you might have to click it twice, but what you want to do is you want to get to this menu in the middle where it has all the icons. Okay, then if you come back here, and you swipe on this little trackpad. There's a trackpad here, and you swipe on a trackpad, it starts moving you through the options up here, right? So the trackpad, it's like a little trackpad. See a little mouse pad right there? You just move your finger across it, and it moves. It actually moves the moves it. So what you want to do is go to trip. So usually on most cars, this trip is where you get all the information about your mileage and stuff like that. So if you go ahead and press that track button, just go ahead and press it to select, you'll see it comes up and it gives me the mileage, how much miles are on this van. And then if you scroll down on the scroller, so you just scroll down, you'll come to the section where it says current consumption, right? So to give you the gas mileage that you're actually getting when you drive down the road. And then on the bottom there where it says range, above the depth indicator where it says range, that's basically how many more miles you have to go before you get gas. So I could really go 104 miles supposedly before this thing is bone dry and I'm not going to be able to move any longer, right? So that's a good way of figuring that out and notice, and how far you have to get. So let's say you're driving down the road and you see a sign that says, Amarillo is, 100 miles, right? And I look here and I'm like, do I have enough gas to get there, or do I need to try to find some gas right now, right? So I stop here and I look at the range, and it says, oh, I got 103 miles. So it's like, ooh, 100 miles to get to Amarillo, 103 left. Yeah, that's probably too much, not enough margin. So I probably need to stop and get gas now. Okay, so that's very helpful. The next thing that works out pretty good is if you come here to the MBUX, you can actually see what your current gas mileage is. So, this is touchscreen. So if you just go ahead and scroll through here and you come to where it says info, right? You just select the info right here. Then you get information around the engine, how the engine's doing. But you see the middle piece that says consumption. So if you click there, it'll give you your current gas mileage, right? So not your gas mileage, your current fuel consumption and your current fuel mileage. So it may say right now it's 2.4 because we're really not going anywhere. I'm sitting here and I'm idling, right? So I wouldn't expect it to have any kind of a fuel consumption or fuel mileage here, right? But if you're driving down the road and, let's say you're doing 65, you're average at 65, you want to see what your average consumption is for this tank of gas, you can sit here and watch it, and it may go up to 16, 15.5, but it'll show you, all the little peaks and valleys, and it'll have a line out that'll show you the average, and it'll show your average fuel consumption over here. So if you wanted to see, if you get better gas mileage if you're doing 65 versus if you're doing 80, you could actually watch it and see what you're getting there from watching it here. And then also if you come back here in the middle and look on the same screen, we look at fuel mileage, this thing up top where it says current consumption, it actually tells you what you're actually getting as you're driving, what the peaks and valleys are. So you may see it, if you go downhill and you let off the gas and you're actually coasting down, it may say you're getting 100 miles a gallon. Or if you're flooring it and the turbo's turning on and you press it and you're injecting gas, maybe your mileage will say it's 10, right? Or if you're just cruising down the road in cruise control, you may be doing close to 20, right? So that's a couple things you can keep an eye on. But really the main thing that you need to remember is that's the fuel gauge right there. Each blip equals about 2 gallons of gas, right? There's 12 blips. There's a 24-gallon tank roughly in here. And then if you want to see the fuel mileage, you need to go to the trip menu right here off of the main menu, and then you need to select that, and then you just scroll down once, because typically what it does is comes up to mileage, right? Well, too far. Come up to mileage, you just scroll through this until you get to the range. So I'm going to go ahead and drive out and look for a gas station. Look for a a gas station that has diesel fuel, right? And then fuel up, and then we'll talk about how to find a diesel place that sells diesel and then how to pump it. All right? Be with you in just a second. I'll be with you in just. So here we are at our local gas station. The first thing you need to know about is not every single gas station carries diesel. So you got to figure out which stations carry diesel or not, right? So the easiest way is if you look at the sign as you're driving down, you'll be able to see that there's two prices. You have the red is usually the gasoline, and if they have diesel, they're going to have a green around the numbers, and it's going to say diesel or DSL or something like that. Then you can tell that it's gas and diesel. And you can usually see those on the high side of the road. Also, just note that sometimes it's harder to find a diesel in the city but you can get a lot of diesel on the highway because of the bigger trucks. And usually people run the diesels on the highway because they get better gas mileage. So you just have to kind of look around to make sure you find it. So remember, green is always diesel, and the regular fuel is usually red or black, right? It'll say unleaded or UNL or something like that, and the green will say diesel or DSL or something. When you get to the pump, again, you have to know where the pumps are at, because some stations only put the diesel on the outside of the pumps, right? So let's say if you have a row of 10, 15, 12, 30 pumps in a big row, usually the ends of the rows are where you find the diesel, or they may be just one little place like here in this little gas station. It's on the other side where not a lot of things are, and you'll see the diesel. And you usually have your black is for your unleaded, and it'll tell you what kind of regular fuel it is. And then green is diesel. In the United States, green is usually always diesel. Somebody said when you go to Canada, diesel is yellow. Now, if this station has something that says E85, that's a flex fuel with a lot of ethanol in it. Don't use that, and don't use the regular gasoline. You need to use the diesel. You can always tell diesel too, because diesel's a little greasier, I think, a little oilier than regular gasoline, and it smells a little different, so you can usually tell. Okay, so the next thing you need to know, okay, is there's different size nozzles, and I don't know if you can see it here or not, but this black is the gasoline, and see how the nozzle is smaller than the diesel. Okay, now if you go to a truck stop, the diesel truck stop is even bigger than this one. Okay, so that's very important for this next piece I'm going to show you, is when you go to put the gas in the receptacle. So if you come over here to the receptacle and you remove this, I don't know if we could get the camera down here around and see there's this little metal thing inside here. You can see there's a little metal switch in here, okay? And that's to keep the regular gasoline pump from fitting in there, okay? Because see how the gasoline is smaller? When you go to insert it in here, it won't push that piece down, okay? And that's kind of a safety thing to keep you from putting gasoline in a diesel engine. Because if you put gasoline in a diesel engine, that's bad news bears for everybody, right? So you don't want to do that, okay? But the diesel has a bigger nozzle, and you notice when you put that in there, if it's the right size, it fits right in there, and it pushes the little gizmo, the little flange back so you can put the nozzle in there. Now, one thing you need to know is if you go to an older gas station, okay, sometimes what they do is they take the regular pump and they put it on the diesel, right? The regular nozzle, and they put it on the diesel, and it's a smaller size. So you may have a green pump, green handle attached to a pump that says diesel. You go to put it in here, it ain't working, because Mercedes has a little sensor that knows how big the pipe is that goes in here. If that happens, two things you can do. Just go to another pump, right?
Why this picture so roomy? Why the picture so roomy?
The pump, it doesn't work, just go to another one, or you could actually start squeezing in here and put gas in there, but that's going to make a mess. I would just say, if you go to put a nozzle in here, you know it's diesel and it doesn't work, just go find another pump, that'll work. Okay? So then once you get it in there, just put the pump in. Okay, the next thing you need to worry about is sometimes when you go to an older gas station, they may have the old style pumps that where you take the pump off of here, you have to lift a little lever, right? So make sure you watch and see if it has a lift. It usually say lift the lever, or this will say remove the nozzle or something. So make sure you do that. So always look when you pull this out of here. Don't always assume it's a new style when we don't have to lift the lever. But then you just go ahead, put it in here. The flange goes back. Just pump it like anything else, and we're done. So really, that's all there is to putting fuel in the vehicle. Just remember to use the right pump, right? Green for diesel. Try not to get the wrong one in there, and if you're always in doubt, just ask, right? So once again, this is Joe with Texas Tal. Thanks for your time. Revel on.